Hello and welcome to Poker Stories, presented by Card Player, the Poker Authority. I'm your host, Julio Rodriguez. So what is Poker Stories? Poker Stories features long-form interviews with the best players and personalities in the game today. On this episode, I talked to Jesse Sylvia, who you probably know best for his runner-up finish to Greg Merson in the 2012 World Series of Poker main event. You may even have caught his episode of True Life on MTV. Since then, he's made 2 more WSOP final tables, and this September, he won his first World Poker Tour title at the Borgata Poker Open in Atlantic City. The bottom line is that Jesse is really good at poker, and he was a lot of fun to talk to. So let's get right to the interview. Jesse Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Wow, it's great having you here. Let's jump right into it. You're from Martha's Vineyard. Not a lot of poker players come out of there.
Yeah, actually, it was interesting because at the WPT at Borgata, we had 4 people from Martha's Vineyard in day 3 of the tournament, and I had 2 of them at my table on day 3. So
you all know each other from
yes.
back home?
One guy, the guy who wasn't at my table, his name's Wade. Henry Meacham, but we all called him Wade. He was on the tennis team with me. We played tennis together. His brother, I think we played on the tennis team for like a year together, but there was, we weren't in the same class, so it was different timing. And then the other guy's name is Todd Rebello, who was like my basketball coach when I was 5 years old or whatever. Weird. Yeah, and he's a friend, like my friend's dad. He's just like a really good dude. Everyone knows him. Mm-hmm. He owns the card store, like the baseball card store. Yeah. So it's like the place that we would always be in and out of. And
see, back when you were a kid, I bet the card store held Pogs.
Oh yeah, Pogs, Magic
Slammers.
Cards, a lot of that stuff.
I wasn't big into Magic. Were you a Magic player, like a lot of the people were?
I played a lot of Magic up till when I was like 12 or something. Okay. I tried to. The thing about living on an island is it's really difficult to be part of that world because A, no one really played where I was from, maybe a few people, and B, you had I think the last boat to get home was 8:30. So if you wanted to play in a tournament,
just that sentence, the last boat to get home.
Yeah, exactly.
Is so I can't even wrap my mind around that.
Yeah, it's a very. I
guess if you live on Staten Island or something like that, it's similar.
Yeah, but even then, you probably know people in New York. You can crash or whatever. so the JSS tournaments, the Junior Super Series for Magic: The Gathering, was what I played when I was that age, and
so you were good.
Not really. I mean, anyone could play in those tournaments.
Oh.
I mean, I was good in terms I understood, like the archetypes and all that sort of thing, but I wasn't good in the sense of I was very competitive. I think I won like a small tournament once, but I wasn't I would go to the JSSs and just get destroyed by people who just were better prepared and chose better, decks to play or whatever.
No, I'm going to show my Magic ignorance. I mean, I've tried to be pay as much attention as possible when people talk to me about it, but I really don't know how it works. So, for these JSSs where anybody can come in, is there a buy-in? I mean, it's children, so I doubt it's not gambling involved.
Yeah, I think that there was like a $10 buy-in, but that was mostly just to pay the
administration.
Staff. Yeah, exactly, so that the staff would take care.
So
of
everything. What does a winner of one of these things get?
So at the JSS, I believe if you won the whole tournament, you would get like a $500 scholarship. It was all scholarship stuff.
Yeah.
So like a $500 scholarship, and you got invited to the big tournament. Or if you had like a really big JSS qualifier field, maybe top 2 would get it. But this big tournament that was in Florida every year, they do the U.S. Nationals in Florida and the JSS Championship. And those the winner of that would get, I think, $40,000 scholarship or something like that. So it wasn't really about that to me.
So there's more money in poker, is what you're saying.
Oh my God, it's disgusting how much. And it's really sick because the guys who play Magic seem like they're really smart for the guys at the top of the game. Mm-hmm. They're really smart and they're really good at games. And somehow they just play the game where, the biggest winner of the year makes like 60 grand or 80 grand or something. I'm not,
right.
Don't quote me on those numbers.
I watched a chess documentary. It was a similar story at the top chess players in the world. They go down to that park where they can challenge all the people in New York, the best ones were living off of 30 grand in winnings a year.
I mean, anytime you want to see how people do, look at the coaches of stuff. You can hire a chess coach for. I mean, they could charge a good amount, but I imagine it's like $30 or $50. Whereas,
as opposed to a golf coach or something where it's like $200, or a tennis coach,
or a poker coach where it's $500 or $600 for someone. Some of the top guys charge more.
Yeah,
I think at one point we were talking about somebody online was talking about coaches, and they said, there was this one guy who used to crush heads up, and he was one of the top players, but he hasn't played in a couple of years. And they were
Yeah.
like, him charging $700 or $800 seems overly priced, but like Jungle Man charging $1250 at the time, he was the best heads up player.
Yeah, it's a
That's
bargain.
like horribly underpriced. He should be charging. He shouldn't be he shouldn't be giving it away, honestly. But if he is, he could be charging thousands of dollars an hour.
That's a very interesting question in the poker world, and we'll get back to your bio story in a minute. But I remember the story went when they first introduced hole card cameras on the WPT. Eric Seidel wasn't a fan of the idea. I believe it was Eric Seidel. See, now I'm making Eric Seidel mad. But it was the whole attitude of why should I show how I play my cards? And now everyone shows. There's no choice. You have hours and hours of tape on how you play out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that a few of those guys really didn't want to play the first few tournaments because they didn't want to show their cards. And then once the celebrity status of poker started emerging,
The egos took over.
yeah, they were like, okay, I guess I'll show my cards now because
Yeah.
I don't want to miss this train. And it was smart not to miss that train.
Plus, any hit they took in their win rate was made up for in endorsements,
yeah, absolutely.
at least at the beginning.
Back then, endorsements were insane.
So let's get back to back then, because back then you were still a young teenager.
Yeah, I was when Moneymaker won. I was in high school, and then the next year that got me into poker.
Mm-hmm.
But most of like the back then was when I was in college, when Negroni was winning every pro tour.
He was
every
going crazy at
WPT.
WPT, yeah.
Yeah, and he won Player of the Year, Card Player of the
The
Year.
Mizrachi years was like the year after that.
Yeah, Mizrachi was just dismantling everything.
Gus was going crazy at the time.
Yeah, Gus was a real hero. I remember. I mean, I always like looked up to all those guys, but Gus he had like this funness about him, and like when he everything he says in high stakes poker is just like absolutely hilarious. I still go back and listen to the clips, but when he calls off against Esfandiari in that Bad Boys of Poker with 10-8 with the 10 high.
Bad Boys of Poker. What an amazing concept.
Yeah, that was really good. Who would be the Bad Boys now? That'd be an interesting.
The Bad Boys of Poker today. I mean, would it actually be Bad Boys, or would it be just the most annoying people that...
Yeah, it might
You know
be
what I mean? Like-
it might be a spectrum of loudest people from like most annoying to like just loudest funniest. So
Yeah,
like you'd
loudest,
have
funniest.
Kasuf for sure, who
Yeah,
in my
Kasuf.
opinion is really annoying. I actually thought people were really harsh on him, but like he was pretty annoying.
Seems to be the pro take.
But he's a shoo-in. Like he would get that free roll immediately, so he did something right.
Right?
because
Yeah, exactly. All
I
the attention's
guarantee
on
if
him.
they run that tournament, it's gonna be a free roll. So he's gonna get in there, and then you'll have like some old school guy like Mike Mattisau probably, who's kind of he
Well,
teeters-
Mike's a little bit more subdued these days, but yeah, he can get animated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Will
he
Fela,
teeters different
I think
ends
he's more
of
on the
spectrum.
fun end of the louder people that you see at the table.
Will the Thrill?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love Will the Thrill. He has said some stuff not on camera that.
Of course.
He's.
Of
I mean,
course.
he's like that. He's
But
hilarious
mostly
all
harmless.
the time. Oh no, yeah, he's a nice guy. He just he's not playing it up for the cameras. I appreciate that. Helmy's another guy who's not playing it up for the cameras.
Yeah,
I watched-
people don't understand this.
Yeah.
That's really him.
Yeah.
People get disgusted by the idea that he's acting or it's feeding into this character he's created. No, that's Phil.
Yeah. No,
he
Phil
100% is that.
Phil has. I mean, a lot of poker players are not good at losing because we're hyper competitive people. Phil just really doesn't like losing, and also he, in his mind, he is like the best, and so when he loses, it's unfair, and I kind of understand.
You kind of need that.
Yeah, you
kinda
definitely
need that warped part of your brain
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
tell you I'm the greatest.
Yeah, I haven't met a single guy who's been, at the top of the GPI or like is crushing every tournament that doesn't think that they're potentially the best in the world and isn't so confident at any given table that they don't. Like the guys that I meet that are doing all right on the tours, but haven't really broken through. They're the ones who come up to me like, "Oh, my table's really tough today. I'm so and so and so and so." And then like the Vanessa Selps of the world are just like, they just don't care who's at their table.
Exactly.
It's like, you're going to have to beat me. And that's really impressive. And I started to get that mindset as I started, getting a little more in touch with studying like GTO and just watching a lot of super high rollers and realizing that a lot of the stuff these guys are doing isn't any different from what I would be doing in the hands.
Right, but at the same time, Jesse Sylvia is a world-class player, one of the best. But if he sits down at the table with, let's say, who's number one right now, Fedor or something, are you telling yourself, I can crush you, Fedor.
I mean,
at this table.
Fedor's actually a special, just because he's crushed so hard. He's got like this legendary status now.
I mean, he's the boss at the end of the level right now, right?
Yeah, and maybe he'd be like slightly intimidating, but I mean, for the most part, it's like I've watched him play. Like I know that the things that he does and the things that I do aren't very dissimilar, and I think that his ranges are a little bit better in certain spots probably than mine, and maybe he finds a little bit more possible exploits in different things that I do than I find in him. But at the same time, maybe there are some things that I do better. I'm not saying that I'm clearly not a bigger winner than Fedor, but I'm not going to sit down at the table and be like, holy crap, this guy's going to crush me. And I think when that started to connect, that was when I started having recently like more success. I remember the first summer where that started connecting. It was the World Series 2 years ago, so 2015, and I just started going deep in like a lot of stuff. It was like I just didn't give a shit anymore. You know, like it wasn't like, oh, this guy's on my left and he's tough. It's just I just went with whatever was set up for me.
And even if he is tough, if you think about it in terms of the amount of hands you're actually going to see with this guy, is probably so small that any edge they have over you is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be marginal, and you're going to have other guys at your table that are giving up a bigger edge than that guy has on you. You're still profiting. And even if you're not profiting, you enter this tournament because it's a soft tournament. Maybe you get moved tables. Next tournament, you'll get a better table. It's just like, it's really good to see the long run really well. And, that level of confidence is super important.
Do you believe that the table draw, the initial table draw in a tournament, is the single greatest deciding factor in who wins?
No, it's a big one for sure.
Because if you move somebody one seat over, their result is entirely different.
Oh yeah, from like a butterfly effect standpoint,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. But like in terms of like what matters the most, I would say that table draw is up there. Table draw overall in the tournament is probably the most important factor. Your initial table draw, you can just run good for the day or wait it out or whatever. Yeah, and so that's not the biggest deal. But I mean, if on day 3, day 4, you're getting tough tables while the whole room is just soft tables,
exactly.
Yeah, your chances of winning that tournament have gone down drastically. You're just not getting those free chips when you have hands or, having people just do things against you. That's absurd.
Well, let's get back to the story. So you're in Martha's Vineyard. Moneymaker happened. You went to college in California, and your world opened up to poker.
Yeah, I did what I did in high school at first. I just found everyone else who played poker at college, and we started having like little games.
Yeah. So that was your bond with people, poker. It was all poker all the time.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I had other things that I was doing, but the thing that I got excited for was poker, like truly passionately excited about. So like, I had friends that we had like a little volleyball court. Maybe I had friends I went and played volleyball with or whatever, but like all day when I was in class and stuff, I was thinking about playing poker.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then one of the guys in the group was like, hey, we can go to this casino, Shumesh. It's like 2 hours away, and it's an 18 and up casino. And I had never heard of that. I was like,
this is like in Central California?
Yeah, it's right above Santa Barbara.
But towards the coast, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know that they had 18 up casinos. I didn't know that was a thing. So, because on the East Coast, the closest one I think is in New York. So
to Martha's Vineyard?
Yeah.
At the time, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Back then, there wasn't the sprawl of casinos that now litters the East Coast.
Oh no, we had casinos, but they're all 21 and up, like Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun and stuff. So Turning Stone was like the closest one. I just didn't really know about that. That was something. While I was reading a lot about poker, that was something I guess I didn't do my homework on because I just didn't know as a. So I went up there and I was playing and.
Right. When you're first seeing poker, it doesn't even occur to you that it's played in a casino, right? In my mind, I'm thinking back watching the old broadcasts. It never occurred to me what building they were in and that it was a place for gambling. In my mind, they were like in an arena, on a sporting arena. You know what I mean?
You're right. No, it was like a secondary thing a little bit. Like you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. There's like blackjack.
It's not until you get into it then you're like, oh, this casino is also owned by this casino, and that's why they have this tour, and then they have a partnership. Yeah, exactly.
And there's something cool about that too because there's this like, I don't want to say degenerate feeling, but like when you watch poker on TV, it's so clean and crisp, and it's this competition. When you walk into a casino and play cash, it's like. There's cash games and then there's craps.
Exactly.
So it adds this element
it's not
of
as sterilized.
Yeah, it adds like this dirty element to it, which is kind of exciting. It adds like this romantic aspect to it.
Correct.
Of the game that is like sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's interesting, but it always adds something new, which I like a lot.
You're right about that for sure. Like, so you're in this casino in Central California. How does your first experience at the table go?
Yeah, the first time I played was so I sat down at a 1-3 no limit game with $100, which was, the most I'd ever won in a little game in the at college or at home was like $70. So
yeah. So all of your bankrolls on the table.
Yeah, so I played in it and I lost my $100, and I was all sad, and I was like, man, I'm never gonna play poker again. And then my friend was still playing, so I was like, oh, I better play for a little bit more. So I sat down at this 2-4 limit hold'em game, and I ran
bluff
up.
me now.
Yeah, right. I probably thought I could bluff at the time. Anyways, I ran that up to like $100, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to the 1-3 game. And I ran it down to like 50, and I was like, man, if I lose this 50, I'm never playing poker again. And I ran that 50 up to like $600.
At this point, how long have you been in the casino?
Oh, it's been like, I don't know. Time didn't matter then.
Exactly.
Like
you can't see the windows.
It still doesn't matter as much in a casino, but like when you're first getting into poker, it's insane. You could play for like 6 hours and just think that it was an hour. It's just things. I mean, hands happen, and you're thinking about the last hand. You have no idea. Even in 2012, I've been playing for like 8 years. At my final table, I was having so much fun enjoying that moment that at one point when we were three-handed, everyone pulled me aside and they're like, you need to get some food. Are you hungry? I was like, no, I'm fine. We ate before we started playing. They're like, that was 12 hours ago.
Food is one of those things that, and much to the shock of anyone who's seen me before, they're surprised when you forget to eat playing poker. But it happens all the time. You skip meals if you're in a good game.
Yeah, and then you don't realize that you're getting a little bit more tired because of it and a little bit weaker, and your brain starts your thought processes start deteriorating a bit, and all of a sudden you get a little bit tilted and you don't really know why, and then you do something dumb and you're like, oh, I probably should eat some food. It all matters. Fitness, food. I mean, you're trying to keep yourself at the top of your game in every way. It's just that all that stuff affects your win rate.
So you're up 600, you said.
Yeah, so I'm up 600, and
and you're hooked.
My hands are like trembling. Like I couldn't believe this much money is in front of me, and my hands are shaking, and I'm just looking at these like stacks of $5 chips, and I'm like, holy crap. So we leave the casino, and I'm feeling all good about myself, and we go back, and I think the second time I win like 500, and I'm all psyched. And then the next time I lose like 500, but by then I'm hooked.
Yeah.
So I started studying a lot more poker.
Did you read all the books and stuff?
I read a few books. I read a lot of 2+2. I read everything I could find online. I remember I read Negreanu's blog religiously, and when I found out like Phil Hellmuth had a blog, I read that, and I would just scour the internet for any new information that I could find. I started playing online as well. I found out that I could use my debit card because I thought you had to have a credit card, and I could use my debit card to put money on. And I started putting like $25 or $50 at a time on there, and I busted that a few times, and then started running that up and playing tournaments and doing well in like some of the small tournaments. Remember there was one tournament called the Midnight Oil on PokerRoom.com. It was like a $22 tournament. And
was Poker Room the one that was like browser based?
Yes, it was the only one I could play because I had a Mac.
Okay.
At the time, that's why I was on.
That's right. You didn't have to download a client for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was very important because without that, I wouldn't have been able to play online.
Yeah, I had a buddy who was big on that site.
So it was like. Yeah, I started doing okay in tournaments, and I would run up bankrolls and then try to play big and bust them, and it kind of progressed from there. Mm-hmm. Remember the next summer, I was still working at home, but I was probably winning more playing poker. And then at the end of the summer, I had one night where I lost like $7,000 in a night of like a $9,000 bankroll online. I was like freaking out. Maybe like $9,500 was, that was like the worst feeling I had ever imagined at that point. And
yeah.
Those feelings still happen sometimes. It's one of the sickest things about poker, and one of the reasons why when people are like, yeah, I want to teach my friend poker, he's like interested in playing. I'm just like, no, do something different.
No.
Is because
don't go down that rabbit hole.
Well, it's like your biggest win won't feel as good as your biggest loss will feel bad, even if your biggest loss is half that much.
Right.
I've been very lucky because my biggest
winning
wins
never
have been,
feels as good as losing feels bad.
Yeah, because you have an expectation to win, and that's good. It keeps you competitive, but at the same time, it's going to make you're just going to have to work that much harder on keeping your sanity. Though.
You know what I mean? You follow a team all season long, and even if they win, even if they're one of the 30 teams that actually wins, the feeling lasts a day or two.
Yeah, and it's mostly relief, right?
It's relief. Yeah. It's not even – it's relief that, hey, all those hours I sunk into this, it paid off, kind of.
Yeah. No, that's like, I know what you mean. And,
but then again, one would argue – winning feels better when you have a second place on your resume first. You're proof you could answer that question.
Yeah, that was kind of a special moment too, where I was very fortunate that in taking second. I mean, I was very fortunate to take second anyways, but I was very fortunate in that taking second. I lost to a friend of mine, and a guy that I know like encapsulates poker. Mm-hmm. So it was like. It was that feeling of like he kind of deserves it a little bit, like he is poker a little bit, and that was kind of cool. And then on top of that, I won incredible life-changing money. I had goals in life, and monetary goals. I met all of them with that win. Like I was like able to buy my mom a house. I was able to like get my own place. Like, I could pretty much, if I wanted to at that time, assuming that nothing happened with the markets too badly, I could probably just sit on it and chill if I wanted to.
Exactly.
And basically retire. That's not really in my interest, but it's a nice feeling to have. I wouldn't be living like a super baller lifestyle if I did that, but I'm not concerned with that sort of thing anyways. So, it was like a lot of sort of silver linings in that experience. So I was pretty okay with it. That said, after a couple more years where I had some thirds and seconds and stuff in tournaments, started getting that itch to win something for sure.
So when you finally got the trophy,
yeah,
describe that experience.
That was weird because
I saw a picture of you on Facebook with the actual trophy they shipped you.
Yeah,
I didn't realize your version of it was just as big as the original. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
gigantic.
It's the original's also huge. It might be slightly bigger, and it's only bigger because they put a plaque for each winner of each WPT on it. That was an incredible moment for me because, like I said, I was watching when I was first getting into poker. It was like when Negreanu was winning all those WPTs and stuff. I look at the trophy, and the first plaque I see is Negreanu winning the same tournament in 2004, I think, or 2005.
That Borgata one, yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, holy crap! Like this is a little piece of history that I get to be a part of, and that was really cool.
Exactly. You get to share the same space forever.
Yeah.
As long as the tour's around.
And no matter how many more tournaments he wins, even if I don't win another one, he's got to share that space with me.
Exactly. So, it's not up to him. All right, so tell me about the first big live tournament experience. The first, when you sit down, your nerves, what was the buy-in, where were you at?
Okay, so the first big live tournament I think I played was actually in Brazil.
Okay. Were you a pro at that time yet?
No, I was in college. I didn't really consider myself a pro because, scholarships or whatever loans paid for my rent and everything when I was in college.
Yeah, you weren't living 100% off of your poker income.
So I had a lot of success at that point. I thought it was a lot of success at the time. I had done pretty well in some online tournaments. I chopped the Sunday Million, which was a gigantic boost to my bankroll. And, I was on my way to doing stuff. And one night I was playing this $500 satellite to what was it called? The like South American Poker Tour? No, the LAPT.
Latin American.
Yeah,
Poker
Latin
Tour.
American Poker Tour. And it was in Rio de Janeiro. This stop, and I ended up winning my package, and I had classes like when it was going on, so. I didn't know if I should just not tell them or if I should like tell them that I'm not going to show up. So like the day before I had to leave, I like went up to my advisor who was head of the math department. I was a math major. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to be here the next couple of days. Can I get, like the stuff that I need to do and everything? She's like, yeah, here it is. She's like, what are you doing that you're not here for 4 days? And I was like, oh, I was too honest with people.
I'm flying to Brazil.
Yeah, well, I was like, I have to play a poker tournament.
Bet a lot of money?
Yeah, she was like, what poker tournament takes 4 days? I'm like, well, it's in Rio de Janeiro. And she's like, she just shook her head because she kind of got it.
See, I disagree. I think she was probably elated to see a math major excelling in a math-dominated field while still in school.
I think that she thought it was really cool. We still keep in touch. She's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, her name's Karen Fogel, and she's she's like a wonderful person. But
And you
also,
are her most favorite famous student of all time.
I think I might be her third favorite student from that year, to be honest, because we had like at least 2 other people in my class that I graduated with that were really cool. Yeah, I mean, I think she liked me a lot, but we had some pretty wonderful people in that class.
Nobel Prize winners, no doubt.
Yeah,
To top
definitely.
you. What was the worst bad beat you ever put on anybody? Because I don't want to hear your bad beat story.
Yeah, so I think it has to be Salaburu at the final table, because that's by far the most equity.
Right, given the money involved.
Yeah, I mean, so I put a worse beat on Greg. It was kind of a cooler anyways when I got it in with Ace King versus Kings, but he ended up winning the tournament anyways, and he wasn't out on that hand. So yeah, it's not really like a bad beat as much. It doesn't feel like it. Salaburu, I got it. I jammed the small blind with Queen 5 suited, which is like a profitable jam, and he had 7s, which he has to call with, and I got there on the river. And instead of having,
now I forget, did he bust in that hand or you double through, and he was crippled?
No, I busted him.
You busted him, that's right.
He had like 7.5 million or 7 million chips, and I had like 48 million at the time. I had heaps, so it wasn't gonna like hurt me, but it was definitely gonna hurt him because he either has a stack that's worth like $2.5 million in equity, or he's out of the tournament in 8th place, which is like, he would get 1 pay jump.
He still sends you hate mail?
No, he's actually a really awesome guy. Like whenever I see him, he's really friendly and stuff. He knows just poker.
I didn't even recognize him last time I saw him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he looked a lot different.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I hadn't seen him since the final table, so it'd been a while.
Yeah, I always liked him a lot. He's hilarious, and he seems like a really cool guy. I know he plays like I think he plays like private games or underground games or whatever in Texas, and I couldn't imagine a better. Yeah, right.
Any government officials listening?
I couldn't imagine a better person for that, because his personality is like, why would you not want to have him there? He's just an awesome guy to have, even if he's winning money in it. I don't know. So yeah, that was probably the worst beat I ever put on anyone. That was pretty gnarly.
Nice 7-figure beat.
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
What's the biggest pot you ever won or lost?
I mean, I guess it has to be for tournaments, or for like equity at least, it has to be the Ace King versus King's hand with Greg. If I lose that pot, I go out in 3rd. And if I win that pot, I have a very good chance of taking 1st or 2nd. My stack's worth a lot. I remember that hand like incredibly well, and I'll never forget it because my mom's birthday is 4/4/1954. Her favorite number is 4, and growing up, we like loved our mom, and so we always thought the number 4 was cool. And
it's my sister's birthday, April 4th.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's also a good time for baseball season.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just a good date.
Yeah, no, it's a good date.
Weather's nice.
That whole area
can't
around
lose.
there is pretty nice.
4-4.
Yeah. It's great in Vegas around that time.
Exactly. The one tolerable month a year we have here.
I'm all about the fall and the spring in Vegas. I think there's very few places I'd rather be, but come summertime.
Even as an East Coast island boy, huh?
Yeah, I love the summer on the island. The end of the spring and the beginning of the fall is really nice on the island, but as soon as it gets cold, I just can't handle the cold. I went to school in California and just became a different person. I just like couldn't deal. I never liked the cold. I just don't act like the same person when I'm cold.
You must miss the beach though.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah,
I loved it. When I go home, we just went home to Massachusetts for 3 months after the series ended, and I basically spent the whole time fishing, going to the beach, swimming, wakeboarding, whatever. Just I was on the water all the time.
Yeah,
and that's all I really want to do when I'm there, hanging out with friends and barbecuing, stuff like that.
What were we talking about? Oh, your mother. 4-4.
Oh yeah, so her birthday. Yeah,
this started from a poker hand. Okay, go ahead.
So her birthday's 4/4/1954. So she loves the number 4, and I love the number 4. Whatever. So I get all in versus Greg with Ace King versus Kings, and it was one of those moments where it felt like it was just momentum, and it was just I couldn't win this hand. Like I had just gotten it in versus. I had been building momentum, and I got in versus Jake with Ace Queen versus Ace 10, and he turned to 10.
Jake Balsiger.
Yes. And then the very next hand, I run Ace King into Kings, and I'm just like, okay, there's just like no way that I win this hand.
You were meant to get
This is just
third.
how it happens, yeah. And that's okay. Sometimes this happens. And so the flop was 2-3-5, and the turn is like whatever. And Ashley turns to my mom. Ashley's my girlfriend, and she turns to my mom, And she goes, yeah, Jesse's out unless he hits an ace or a 4. And my mom just goes, it'll be a 4. Don't worry about it.
Nice.
And like a nice little 4 of hearts comes out.
Confidence from mom.
Yeah, no, my mom, she knows what's up. So that
and
was,
I don't think
that
she
was
said it to set up a potential amazing moment. You know, because how poker players give themselves a verbal free roll.
Yeah.
For when it happens. And
No, they love it.
Genius.
They're like, oh, I'm going to win this one.
No, that's pure mom faith right there.
Yeah. No, she knew, and it all worked out.
I bet she didn't even say I told you so.
You know,
I bet it hit, and she was like, of course it did.
Yeah. No, and I've had the 4 hearts following me around, it feels like. I had it like...
Well, believe it or not, it's in every deck.
Yeah.
You're
but it's
see it
I
every
feel
time.
like I keep having these important hands in my life that involve the 4 hearts. One time, Ashley and I were walking the dogs, and there was like a card sitting on the road, and we're like, oh, look, a playing card. We picked it up, and there's a 4 hearts.
Oh, my gosh.
So we have it like sitting on our wall now. I got it in to win the Borgata. I got in with Jack 4 hearts against Zach, and I almost wanted to tell him. I didn't want to jinx it. I know that's silly, but whatever.
Before, when he was contemplating a call, you mean?
No. When we were all in,
Okay.
He called pretty quick because he had ace deuce, and we were really short. But I wanted to be like, look, man, I'm sorry, but I have the 4 hearts. You're kind of drawn dead here. Like, it just seemed like that.
But as a math
thing.
guy, you know, there's no logical.
Of course, yeah, but it's like, as a person who enjoys the world, that's kind of a fun storyline to have going on.
Exactly. What about the best gambling degen story you got outside of poker? Any big credit card roulette losses?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very interesting with degenerate stories, and also my friend Mike will tell you, like, every time I actually go gamble, which isn't for that much money, I run insanely hot, so I just end up winning a lot.
Isn't that a good excuse to keep doing it?
You would think so, but
you want to quit on top?
Yeah, and also like I'm fully aware that it's not like a winning venture, so I just never really end up like I'm up in craps lifetime, which is
that's your game.
So sick. I like craps because when you play stuff like roulette, like it's very easy to see the math and exactly what's going on. But with craps, it's a little more complicated.
Right, so you're getting paid, what is it, 35 to 1 if you hit a number direct?
I think there's 32 numbers, so you get paid 32 to 1, but then there's like 2 zeros,
and
so that's your rate.
That bothers you as a math guy.
Yeah, because it's so obvious like why you're losing money. But with craps, at least it's complicated enough that without me really going into it, I'm just going to be like, okay,
but
fun.
But I bet you're still not betting
2.
snake eyes and all
the
crazy
not.
stuff, all the crazy yo bets. I'm not a big craps guy, as you can tell by me describing it.
Yeah, no, but you
bet the pass line.
Using that jargon, you know more than I do.
You bet the pass line. You put big odds behind because that's the best bet in the house, right?
Yeah.
That's all I've been told.
Yeah, that's what people do. But I go and I sit down with $100. I put $10 on everything and just. So my first time playing craps, we were at a casino, and it was right after Spain had won the World Cup. It was like 2 days later, and people were still up and partying from it, the Spanish. And we're at this craps table, and it's me, my friend Mike. We're 2 very white people, and then just like all these Spanish people. And we just had so much fun just being like, Ocho, and they'd roll and be like, Ocho! And so I was like, oh man, that was a great time. So we just.
Craps in Spanish sounds more fun.
Don't get me wrong, I played craps probably less than 20 times in my life, and I've never played for like big stakes. The only thing that I do gamble high with is credit card roulette. And that's more like hey, it's a break-even venture, so whatever, let's do it. And that's the game I can't win. I found the game that I can't beat. I still do it for whatever reason, and I get crushed.
No, that just means you're going to miss the next 50 tries.
No, I keep thinking that, and then I do it, and I lose, and I'm like,
this is just a dinner downswing you're in the middle of. If you ride it out, I'm sure everything will be... You know what you should do? You should drop down in dinner stakes and try to lower your variance.
Yeah.
Maybe hit up Outback a few times instead of
That's what I'm thinking about, get better. And then, I just keep taking shots, and they don't go well, and I feel dumb. But you know what? I've run pretty good at Lifetime. I got to find something that I don't run that good at. So
exactly.
If it's CCR, I'm okay with that. I think the biggest CCR loss I've ever had was like $2,200.
$22?
Yeah. It was like $2,200 or something. So like it won't destroy me by any means, but it's a lot of money.
Excuse me, $2,200. I want to know the restaurant and how many dozens of people were there.
No, it was like 8 people. It was called Sushi Zo in LA, and it's just really nice.
8 people?
Yeah, I think so. We ordered...
Math. That's almost $300 a person.
Seaver was there, and he was enjoying his life very much, and he ordered like very many bottles of sake, and that's how the bill.
Oh, so this is Scott's fault?
No, because it was a great dinner because of that. This is my fault for engaging in credit card roulette.
Oh man. You lost 1 in 8. What is that? What is the poker equivalent of 1 in 8? Mr. Math Guy? If you get it wrong, we'll just cut it out of the interview.
I don't know, something like tens versus aces after the flop or something. I think that's like 10%, so it's close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah.
We'll count it.
Maybe like a gut shot on the turn is like 12% or something like that. Maybe not. Maybe I'm off with that. No, that'd be 4 out of... Yeah, that's definitely not.
Well, now we're going to air this part, and everyone's going to feel real
That's
inspired to be a poker pro.
I would prefer that the word goes around that Jesse doesn't know math.
The math major. You did graduate with a math degree, right?
Yeah. Actually, I have one more class left.
Oh, really?
I've been floating this class for like 6 years.
What is it, like, particularly difficult?
No, not at all. It's
computational physicist. I can't even think of a tough math class name.
The hardest class that I ever took, not like, I don't know, it was personally the hardest. I don't think it was like the hardest math you can do, was abstract algebra. I just, for some reason, didn't connect very well with that.
That's a math and painting class?
Yeah, exactly. It was dealing with I think it was abstract algebra. It was dealing with so you know the number I, the imaginary number. It's basically this. You can't take the square root of -1, so we use the imaginary number instead. This class deals with.
Showing off.
Yeah, no. Trust me. I was by far the worst person in my the worst.
No, you were third. You said.
No. I was her third favorite. I was easily the least educated person in that. I mean, my classmates had to really help me in study groups to get me through stuff, and I forever owe them. But the imaginary number I, you start making these graphs that have one part real and one part imaginary, and you do that using like a specific formula where the numbers change in the formula. And I remember one day I was sitting with my teacher, and she was like, I just couldn't figure out how to make these graphs. And she was like, yeah, well, you're trying to imagine what a graph looks like in the real numbers. Like, you can't. You have to imagine what a graph would look like if it wasn't like in the real, like if it was in an imaginary way or something. The way she described it, I was just like, I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to go be a poker player.
Yeah. Screw this
and it was like my last
imaginary
semester.
class.
Yeah.
You give me an imaginary grade.
Yeah, exactly. And make it a C because I need to pass this class. I think my last class I had to take online was, at the time, I think it's gone now, so I have to find a different class, but it was the history and psychology of mathematics, and you would literally read like 6 to 8 books and write no more than 2-page papers about mathematicians. It was probably like the easiest class you could ever take in the math world, and I just put it off for like 4 years, and now it doesn't exist, so I have to find a different class.
Well, if you need me to write your papers for you, I work cheap.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, let's get to some quick, rapid-fire style questions. What is your favorite thing about being a poker pro?
The freedom.
The freedom of setting your own hours?
Setting your own hours, financial freedom, travel, the ability to just say, I don't want to go to work today when you don't feel like going to work. That's amazing to me. The fact that, I mean, I love rainy days, and I love on rainy days sitting in bed and watching a movie with the person that you care about or something like that, playing board games with friends. The fact that like anytime it rains, I can be like, yeah, this isn't a day that I need to work, and just hang out inside. That's like a wonderful amount of freedom to me. The freedom to just not have to do some stupid work because somebody told you to do it. Like obviously
something you don't care about.
Yeah, like you could be in your dream job, and every now and then somebody comes up to you and just gives you some busy work, and you're like, what the hell is this? And the freedom to avoid that is kind of nice.
What is your least favorite thing about the poker world?
The freedom. I think that when I guess it was my response to the freedom at first. I had a period of time where when I first finished college, I moved to Boston, moved back to the East Coast, and I decided I was going to be a poker pro. And I took it a little too hardcore with the fact that I was my own boss, and my sleeping hours were awful. Like one night I would go to sleep at like 4 a.m., wake up at 12 the next day, and then stay up till like 10 a.m. and then go to sleep. It's just when you sleep those sort of hours, you're so hyper focused on this game that you're playing on a computer, you forget to eat certain meals because you don't have a specific meal time. And my health like really deteriorated. I started getting really anxious and stuff. And I luckily went to a doctor who's like one of like a best family friend growing up. And I was lucky that it was him, because if another doctor told me this, I'd probably just go for another opinion. But because it was him, I took it more seriously. And he was like, I think that you need to address like your stress and your anxiety and like, you know,
right.
what it's causing. Like it'll cause depression and different things eventually. And so it took a long time for me to like get on a better schedule.
Well, I've met poker players who are still in that cloud, that haze of they've slept 6 hours in the last week, and
and it's just like no way to live your life. And I've talked to a few people that I like. I really, really respect their opinions on like life and stuff that are poker players, and a few of them have gone through the same thing that I have. And I know like one of them almost quit because of that, and went back to school, and then, you know, crushed tournaments and decided that they were going to play some more tournaments and stuff. But they, it's really scary. When you have like 100% of like the decisions about your life are on you, sometimes you make some big mistakes and you don't realize that they're mistakes because no one else, it's hard. There's no script for this, you know? There's not a lot of people to sit there and be like, hey man, this is why this happens. And because a lot of people just get up and go to work and stuff like that. And it's actually it's kind of like an underrated convenience sometimes that things are set up for people, because the alternative is...
It's like the kid who doesn't mind going to private school because everyone has to wear the same uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a nice little safety and comfort in knowing that there's a sameness, there's a routine, clock in, clock out.
Or like, let's say that, you know, education was on you as opposed to going to school. Like you would like people who go to school take for granted that there's a system in place. Maybe it's not the best system, but there is a system in place that'll get you from A to B. Whereas like other people,
whether you like it or not.
Oh crap! I forgot about math.
Yeah,
I just didn't study math for like the last year. So
exactly,
it's kind of interesting with that. I mean, I approached it very poorly as well. There are people more disciplined than me that probably never really had this problem, but that was like something that was really scary about it.
What's the most frustrating thing you've read about yourself in the media?
I got a little, I don't know. I guess it wasn't really like the media, but it was more like forums and stuff. Everyone was really annoyed with me for getting so lucky in the main when I went deep, and I was like,
how dare you?
Yeah, like who has never gotten lucky?
You gotta like that misplaced anger. Or it didn't happen to me, so now I'm mad.
Yeah, I think that bothered me for a little bit. I mean, at this point, I just don't. I don't think I cared that much then, but I just don't care. I mean, it's like people on YouTube, so like, who, you know what I mean? Like, who cares? You're just going to deal with like the loudest, most rash people if you want to delve into that world. But it was like a little unfortunate that all the all-ins that I had across the tournament where I was all in got filmed, so everyone just thinks that I like kept winning all these ridiculous.
Well, that is kind of your fault for being very camera ready.
Yeah, and very lucky.
Well, you are a famous MTV movie star, right? No, they call you guys. What's the most ridiculous question you've ever been asked from non-poker media? Do you have any hometown papers that ask you, like, what's your favorite hand?
No. Well, actually, one... All right, so I definitely know what this is. I got asked to do some, like, sports radio show out of Boston when I was waiting to do the final table, like, in between making the final table and playing it out. And one of the things he asked me was if I've ever left, like, on a tournament break to go, like, masturbate.
That's what he asked you?
Yeah. And that was, like, the moment where I was like, okay, this is, like, one of those, like, wannabe...
Shock jock.
Like Howard Stern. Like, there's just so many people that try to replicate Howard Stern
well,
aren't actually
Jesse
funny.
Sylvia is in the booth with us today.
Yeah.
Jesse, you are at the final table. Let me ask you, can I ask you a personal question about your sexual life?
Is that the Dr. Phil Howard Stern?
That kind of turned into Dr.
I like
Phil.
It, yeah.
I can't even imagine ever being turned on at a poker table. And I've won some some sizable pots that didn't even turn me on. So.
I was like, buddy, have you ever sat at a poker table? It's like the least
even if you got all of the sexiest people in poker at the table, I don't think my mind would be on that.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was a particularly long dinner break.
All right, fair enough.
What's your favorite tournament destination?
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
Yeah, 100%.
Melbourne.
Yeah, Melbourne. I don't know. It's just the best time.
I immediately apologize to all of our Australian listeners.
No, that's how they say it, though.
Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't like me doing that, though.
Oh.
I guarantee it.
Fair enough.
What do you like most about that tournament? The Aussie Millions.
The people are. I mean, I love everything about it. The people are really friendly.
You went for the World Series one, actually, right?
I did both.
Okay.
I've gone for the Aussie Millions 2 or 3 times, and I did both APACs. I like Aussie Millions more because that's the time of year when it's the best weather.
Mm-hmm.
But everything about it's awesome. Like, the people are super nice. The casino hosts are really they treat you like. I mean, maybe I was lucky because I was going with 888 and they were sponsoring it, but they treated us like we were like high rollers in the pit. They were like. They took us out to concerts, and they
have they heard about your credit card roulette losses? Maybe they
maybe that's why they were like, oh yeah, come on out and hang out, and maybe we'll throw some credit cards down. No, I really love tennis, and the Australian Open's happening then, so that's really cool.
Right,
the weather's phenomenal. They always complain out there about how they have like schizophrenic weather, and it's like.
Did they give you free tickets to the Australian Open?
Yeah, at least one of the times I went out, they gave us tickets, and then Vanessa and Miranda came out maybe a few days later, and they gave her tickets, and
Vanessa
we went with
Selps
them.
And her partner Miranda.
Yeah, so we went with them as well. So we ended up seeing like a few games at least, a few matches, and it was just like this really cool experience. You know, I've never been to a tennis match. Like Red Fu at the time was dating Azarenka, so he was there, and like that was kind of cool. And
so you don't mind the 4 days you have to spend on an airplane to get there?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of flying in general. I mean, I don't mind it, but like when there's turbulence, I'm definitely one of the guys who's like, this is not
Plus,
fun.
I bet you have to take a lot of small planes.
No, not really. So you can fly from Vegas to Sydney and then just jump from Sydney to Melbourne.
No, I meant growing up in Martha's Vineyard.
Oh.
I'm basing that question entirely off the show Wings.
Yeah. No, it's actually funny. Like when I was a kid, I think I thought of using those little planes as like the thing that rich people did.
Oh, okay.
So there's this huge dichotomy on Martha's Vineyard where there's all these like $25 million mega homes on the water, and then there's like the people live year round, and we have like the property prices have gone up like incredibly over the last 30 years, but still like, you know, we live in $500,000 to $700,000 houses that are regular size and stuff, and everyone who lives there, you know, like the work is based around the bigger houses, so everyone is like does landscaping or carpentry or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, people were taking planes, but I always thought it was like those little planes is like for rich people or whatever. And then I grew up, and I think the first time I really took one in a long time was Vanessa and Miranda got married, and me and Ashley flew out there to New York, and our round trip flight was $80. And we're like, whoa, why haven't we been using these planes? That's like nothing. Like even the boat. To get your car on a boat would cost that much, so it was just insane to me that we got on the plane, and I ran into 2 teachers from high school. These 2 guys that are like best friends, and
those high rolling teachers.
Yeah, and they were like, they're
flashing their cash.
Well, they were like, "What are you guys doing in New York?" Like, "Oh, we're going to this wedding. You know, our friends are getting married." And we're like, "What are you doing in New York?" They're like, tickets were $80. We're like, "Let's go to New York for a couple days."
Exactly.
I was like, "Yeah, we should do that more. This is outrageous."
All right, who's the best poker player that we've never heard of?
Do you know Brian Yoon?
Brian Yoon, San Diego.
Yes.
And he won a big F-Tops back in the day for like $500K?
Maybe. I'm not sure. He's won 2 bracelets in the last 3 years. He actually won back-to-back years. He won bracelets.
A big event. Millionaire Maker, the first Millionaire Maker?
He won the one drop.
First
one drop.
Okay. The little one.
Yeah. He won that, and then he won a 5K bracelet the next year. If you do know him, I think that he's horribly underrated still somehow. I used to, after he won his first bracelet, I didn't even know he won his bracelet. I was watching his videos on Run It Once, and I just remember thinking, like, this kid's really good. And he's, like, really smart and really good. And I just, like, loved his thought process. And, I ended up, like, talking to him. And the next year he was selling he had already sold his No Limit package. He was selling a package for mixed game tournaments. And I was like, how much mixed game experience do you have? And he sent me, like, some stats. And I was like, I don't even care. Like, I just think that if he's willing to play them, like, he's selling some, but he has some of his own action. Yeah. Like, he's going to be a winner in all these. He's just, like, too smart not to be. So, and then we started talking, and I found out that he had won, like, 2 bracelets and all this other stuff. But
you're like, please send me your credentials.
Yeah.
And he's like, I have 2 bracelets.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, one year, me and Russell Thomas and I decided to go really hard on buying action. We just, like, pooled our money and bought big chunks of packages. But we vetted people pretty hard because it's a scary world out there in the market.
Right.
You gotta make sure that people are still winners. You got to make sure that they're not like when they send you stats, they're not filtering or doing anything like that. You have to make sure that they're trustworthy. So that's like a whole nother side of it where you got to check up on references and stuff like that. It's difficult. I mean, if you have to basically make a decision and then just accept that it was a good decision in terms of trust. Otherwise, you just end up ripping your hair out thinking about what people could have done.
Right.
It's just impossible to track. If Brian, if you've already heard of Brian, then Robert Peacock is.
No, that's a name I honestly have never heard before. What's his deal? Is he a cash game guy? Or?
Yeah, he plays around the city. He's we do a little bit of business together in terms of like staking, but he's a really talented player.
Bobby Peacock.
Yeah.
Is Peacock a nickname? Or is his actual
no, that's his last name.
Okay.
It's actually he's
good old
Peacock.
Bobby P.
I think he's quite good.
Yeah, us in the poker media are pretty bad when it comes to cash game players. All the tournament players get all the glory. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's
but in our defense, cash game players don't always want to be sought out either.
No, for sure. I think that part of the reason why you go to cash games, or you gravitate towards cash games, I guess, is that A, you don't really need that feeling, and B, we got into this because we wanted to have that freedom, and then all of a sudden tournaments are telling you, hey, you have to be here at certain times, you can't quit till certain times, and you're like, no, screw that, I'm gonna go play cash games. So I've been a cash game guy for a long time, and I feel like I still just like play some tournaments or whatever. Like I don't play that many tournaments per year. I probably play 30 or 40 tournaments a year, but it's just tough. You get as soon as you have some success in a tournament, you get a little addicted. Like I spent years playing, like 5, 10, 10, 20 cash games online, play like the biggest games of the Bellagio, and I have respect for my opponents, and I feel like I've been competing with some very good people. I mean, obviously there's fish too, but like I've been competing with some very good people for many years, and I was proud of that. And then like I final table the main event, my mom's like, oh, he's like the best poker player ever.
Right.
And it's like that's tough to not want more of that.
Yeah, making a TV final table is like instant justification for all your friends and family. And you're like, but I've been putting in the hours over here, anonymously grinding away.
Yeah. No, I mean, like step into a cab in Vegas and tell somebody that you play poker for a living, and the first question always is, have you been on TV?
Yeah.
That is your credential. Like whether you have or it's just binary.
So now you don't do that, obviously. You step into a cab. What's the fake profession you tell them?
I tell them that I play poker. I just my answers are usually pretty.
I work in HR for a large, boring company. Let's see what their follow-up to that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just tell them I play poker, and they're like, have you done well? I'm like, yeah, all right.
Well, speaking of jobs, what's the worst regular job you've ever had?
I don't know, man. I actually really enjoyed every job that I had. I liked working. Like, I mean, I had some bad days at work or whatever, and, you have days where you don't want to go to work. But in terms of, happiness levels, I would say, working for myself makes me happier. But I never didn't enjoy work. And I also had cool jobs, like I landscaped, which is hard work sometimes.
But the time goes by pretty fast.
Yeah, and you're outside, and you're getting a workout, which is nice. Like, there's a lot of positives to it. I've just always been a very, optimistic
What was your job
thinker.
on the landscape team?
I mean, I did a little bit of everything.
Trimmer?
I did mowing. I did trimming. I did
arborist?
Yeah. Not so much that. I did we cut down some trees and move logs and stuff like that. That was a little bit the hardcore work.
Did you guys have any artists on the team that would sculpt bushes?
We didn't really have that.
Ornate animals.
The properties we worked on were a little more rugged, pretty, which was kind of cool. But we did some I planted stuff. I weeded. I did a little bit of everything with that. That was kind of cool. And all the different jobs are kind of fun. When you have a day where you're mulching or moving logs or something, you're like, all right, we're going to work today. And then you have another day where you're just weeding and it's chill. And you're like, okay, cool. We're just going to take it easy.
Throw something different at you every day.
Yeah, put some music on and just hang out.
Perfect segue again. When you have your headphones on at the table, what are you most likely listening to?
I never wear headphones.
Never?
At the table. No, I just think it's not good for the game in general. I think
all right, well then screw the part about headphones at the table. When you're in your car, when you're at home,
okay,
what are you playing?
A little bit of everything, but mostly like rap type of stuff, rap and
Okay.
hip hop.
Educate me.
Pandora Macklemore station I've had on a lot lately. I like it's like Macklemore, Kid Cudi, Atmosphere, which is my favorite rap group ever. Like those are
Ever?
yeah. Have you ever listened to Atmosphere?
No, I'm not a rap guy. I mean, maybe when I was younger and pretended that was
No, fair
my
enough.
identity. But I think the last rap album I bought was like Obi Trice's album in college.
Oh wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah, that's a good one though.
It's been a while, but I am also all over the place musically.
Obi Trice, no names, no gimmicks.
He was one of Eminem's guys, I think.
Yeah. I listen to I really like Eminem a lot. His old stuff is I like his new stuff a lot, but his old stuff is really impressive because before he had the greatest people making beats. He had these very simple beats, and so his voice kind of had to be the melody a little bit, and it was just impressed.
I was always impressed by the way he could like make a word rhyme that did not
Yeah,
rhyme.
I love that kind of stuff.
I was like, did he just get away with changing that word entirely at the end?
Mm-hmm. He actually has a line in one of his rap songs where he talks about how he got along with another rapper because he rhymed like two words that don't rhyme at all.
Yeah.
And he was like, we kind of had the same rhyme scheme. And then we
I
started
guess that's
talking.
better than rapping the same word with the same word.
Yeah.
Which I hear all the time now.
Yeah. Absolutely. I listen to everything. I love like the Beatles. I listen to like I'll just get into a mood and listen to something new. So like maybe next week I'm making breakfast and I want to hear like Dark Side of the Moon album or something, and I'll listen to that. But
Okay.
that's a little bit more rare. Usually it's something like fun and easy and uplifting because that's
Energetic.
yeah, exactly.
Get you going.
Ashley puts on a lot of good stuff. She always puts on like these weird Pandora stations that end up being like Mark Ronson, Pandora.
Okay, he's a DJ, I think, or
I think sort of. He like mixes up stuff. He did I think he did
God,
Uptown
I sound
Funk.
So ignorant. Yes, with Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
See, I'm hip.
Yeah. You're killing it.
32, and I feel 1,000 right now. All right, so this last question, we use a website that just generates random questions.
I like it.
So I have no idea what it's going to be.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So let's click refresh.
Wait, I want to watch the peel.
Oh, there it
When
is.
you go behind the dealer?
If you could choose your last meal, what would it be? That's a fun one.
God, there's so many good meals. I'm obsessed
Only choose
with
one.
food.
And I'm assuming this isn't a morbid death row question.
Yeah.
You just happen to know.
Yeah.
That-
You're going to go to sleep and not wake up the next day.
What if it wasn't that? What if you just chose it now, and then you avoided it the rest of your life because you thought that might be your last meal?
Yeah, fair enough.
So one day you're in a restaurant, you order something else. I ordered the open-faced turkey, and they brought me my favorite meal, the sirloin steak.
Yeah, fair
Am I gonna
enough.
die in an hour?
Or what if they cure the need to eat food and we get energy from something else?
I would love that.
And then I would hate that. I love eating food.
No, I would like my decisions to be simple. Give me like a tube of like a gray
that'd be cool.
nutrient paste.
Or just what if you didn't
fills
need to
me
eat
up.
anymore, and so like they slowly phased out food, and like they just had everyone got their last meal one more time before like food was totally
Right.
phased out.
That'd be the perfect situation for this question.
That'd be solid. I think.
So you have to say goodbye to food. We're all gonna eat tube pouches of nutrition.
God, that's so tough. I think I would have
It could be multiple
really good-
courses.
Yeah, it's well, all right. So a really good family friend, his name's Blaine Fuentes. He makes this dish called pepper steak. I think it's like a Chinese dish normally, but I've never had a restaurant do it nearly as well as he does it.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely get that over rice, and then I'd probably do some sushi or sashimi.
Oh, over rice.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like instead of rice. I'm like, when was rice an option?
No, I mean it's good with rice. It's
Yeah.
it's kind of a stew sort of thing. It's what it sounds like. It's a lot of steak and peppers, but you slow cook it in like beef stock and like a bunch of paprika and all this stuff. It's amazing.
I like those meals that like sit heavy in your stomach.
Yeah.
They fill in all the
Yeah.
crevices.
Yeah,
in your,
there's
in your
no
body.
room left when you're done. Yeah, that's a nice one.
You just got like a concrete block in your gut.
But there's no way my last meal doesn't include raw fish too, because that's just
Okay.
the best. And then there's like a few Thai dishes that I would really love to not miss out on my last meal too.
Curries or
Yeah, I would probably prefer like an Indian curry and then like a noodle dish from like Thailand, like a pad kee mao or something like that.
Well, I can't think of a better place to stop and go get some food. So, Jesse Sylvia, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
That's it. That was our interview with Jesse Sylvia. Thanks again to Jesse. You can follow him on Twitter at Mr. Jesse James 888. Thank you guys for listening, and be sure to check back for future interviews on cardplayer.com.